Good evening. This is November 12th, 2017, and we've been it's nice enough tonight for Emily Yaiser to be our guest tonight, and we're going to talk about, it's called College Court on the University of Evansville campus, and they sometimes call it Tin Town now. And we're lucky to have Emily, who lived there for 2.5 years. So, Emily, we're going to ask you some stories about what went on in Tin Town, and you are one of the only survivors from the 13 Tin Town houses that were built on U of E campus in 1947. They were there from 1961. In 1961, it was on Rotherwood, and that was adjacent to where Moore Hall is, in the front yard of New Chapel, and where the Cranert building is. So, Emily, let's give your maiden name and your last name.
My name is Emily Shelton Yaiser, and I was fortunate enough to live in Tin Town. Only we called them Quonset huts at that time.
Tell us about your husband and what his full name was and how he was able to get into Tin Town.
My husband was Ted Martin Yaiser Sr., and he was a veteran, and he needed a college education and wanted to specialize in engineering. So he knew Evansville College at that time was a good engineering school. So we were married and applied for housing there, as we had heard that it was available. And we were fortunate enough to live there for about 2.5 years.
About what year to what year, Emily?
I think it was about 1949 or 50.
And then you had 2 kids there, did you not?
No, we only had one at the time we moved in. And Ted was in college, and fortunate enough to become a lab assistant to one of the professors, and that helped with our income. And as well as I remember, our rent was $125 a month, and at that time Ted had been in service and had saved some money, which helped us considerably. But it was all fun. We lived with the students as well as the professors and their wives and families, and there was no discrimination at all among any of us. And it was a fun place to live at that time.
Tell us about, was it like the outside? These look like Gomer Pyle Quonset huts. They're sort of they're oval, not oval, but they're half moon shaped. And tell us about your refrigerator in the house. Tell us how you had a refrigerator and how it worked.
Well, we had ice boxes. We did not have refrigerators. And the iceman came every day, and we paid him 25 cents for a hunk of ice. So we did that for about 3 months, and I happened to read in the paper that the Shears department store downtown had refrigerators that if you put in a quarter a day, they would deliver you one, and you could use it. So I went downtown on the bus and went to Shears, and decided that I would fit the cause. So they delivered me a refrigerator, and every 24 hours we had to put in a quarter. Many a nights Ted had to go out at 10 o'clock to get a quarter because the refrigerator was going low. And they removed the ice boxes, and after I did that, a number of the other students and their wives did the same thing. And that's how I bought my first refrigerator. And when we moved, we were able to move our refrigerator instead of the ice box. Some of the furniture was partially furnished. We only had a sofa and some chairs in the living room, and they had the beds, twin beds that the veterans had used, and we bought 2 chests and twin beds for one of the bedrooms, and we had our own furniture for the other bedroom. The one thing I don't remember is how it was heated, and I think it was heated by gas, because I don't remember any coal or wood being involved in our living life. So and didn't have any washers or dryers. But at that time, we had diaper service, which was rather inexpensive, and we could afford that. So I had diaper service for the first baby, and then our second child was born while we lived there, and when he was about 4 or 6 months old, Ted had graduated, and we moved to Henderson, Kentucky, to an apartment which was near my parents, because with 2 young children, they decided they could be of great help, which they were. So that's we about Tin Town now it's called. At that time, I didn't know what the address was. I guess it was cottage housing, and you would never know who was the professor and who was the students, because we all congregated together, particularly in the front yards, which was no grass at that time, with the children, and let them play. And the one family I remember very well, because they became very good friends, was the Gotterman family. And I still in this town read in the newspaper about the Gottermans, but I don't know if this was the same family or not. But they were very good friends of ours. And so were some of the professors and their wives, but we didn't socialize any with. In fact, we didn't socialize at all because we had no money. So we stayed home pretty much and entertained each other.
Now, Dr. Yaiser started an archaeology study of the dirt in this area in about 2003, and we had a recent review in the October 2017 newspaper in Evansville. They talked about some of the things they found there. They found a lady's button from her coat, and they found some rubber that was from probably a children's tricycle tire or on their rubber pedal. But certain things they're finding, they're digging in the first foot of dirt around there and finding out how you people lived in 1947 to 61. So the front yard of your place, your kids you would come out and let them play, would you not? Little Ted and Joe?
Yes, they did. Joe was a baby and wasn't able to play, but Ted was, and he enjoyed the other children. And I never saw any fighting, any fussing, or anything. They were all so well behaved. And the women, of course, would get together and discuss their daily chores and any news in the area. And as I say, it was very enjoyable, and really appreciated living there on the campus of Evansville College at that time. And I'm so happy now that it's gone to the University of Evansville. And every time I go by, I think of the good days we had in the tin houses.
Can you tell us how you nailed your pictures up, and were they able to nail pictures up, and what those walls were like?
No, the walls were curved, and we didn't put any pictures on the wall, or they would have been a little crooked, I think. So we had very little wall display. Of course, we didn't have any pictures other than family pictures to put up, but we didn't know any difference, so it was a good life.
And where did you park your car?
We parked our cars out on Rotherwood in front of the housing units, so that was very handy, just to be able to walk out and get in your car.
Where would you go to the laundry, and where would you go get your groceries?
Well, that time we had a grocery called Wesselman's on the corner of Lincoln and Willow, and that's where I did most of my grocery shopping. And as far as laundry, as I say, we had diaper service, and then we had, of course, we would send anything, our sheets, whatever we would send to the laundry. So we had all the necessary things around us that we could use.
Did Ted have to study a lot at night? He was a U of E. Had he'd been in the service, not been in the service, and then he became one of the founders of Crescent Plastics, or Crestline.
It was Crestline at the time, Crescent at the time,
Crescent.
And after Crescent was formed for a number of years, they branched and divided it into Crestline, and so Ted went with Crestline rather than just staying with Crescent, and he traveled quite a bit when all the children were young, establishing businesses and whatever. And when he retired, he had built about 5 of their plants all over the United States. So he had a very successful life too, and did take early retirement because of my previous illnesses. which I survived him.
And can you tell, did Ted take, what type of degree did he get? Did he go to 2 years at U of E or 4 years, or how long did he go there to school?
Ted finished his degree there. I think he had had about a year of college. When I met him, I'd had about 2, and he came in from service, and so I think he finished 3 years of college in engineering, and he graduated with an electrical engineering degree. As a matter of fact, didn't apply much to his work, but I'm sure in many ways it did help.
Yeah, engineering was a very famous school there at U of E. They graduated a lot of good engineers, and so Ted got his basis of education there. How do you think U of E has made a difference in Evansville's scene back in your times in the 40s, 50s, and 60s in Evansville, and how and your kids all grew up in Evansville? Tell us how Evansville College, now University of Evansville, has made a difference to people.
Well, I hardly know how to answer that because I followed University of Evansville for many years, and I think it's been such an asset to the city. And even though our children didn't go there after high school, we attended many of the activities at U of E, and I really am pleased that it's in the community.
Now, Emily, do you have, these archaeology students? It's a very good archaeology school at University of Evansville where they study things in the dirt and what has been left behind. And so I'm sure they might have found some toys that young Ted maybe have left there, or maybe you forgot to get something out of that got buried in the dirt there, or even a coin, or even maybe one of your buttons or anything. But I think some of the other women had kids playing, and they've probably left things, and that's what the students are trying to learn about.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what it is. As well as I don't remember losing anything of great value there. So, and the children didn't have much of good value with things they played with either. So I'm happy that they're having the dig, and I know the students are enjoying it.
But they're not going to probably find a lot of gold or silver or a lot of real valuable things.
No, I don't think they will. Yeah. None that I had.
Well, we're going to give this to Dr. Yaiser. He's one of the archaeology professors at University of Evansville, and he may want to come ask you some questions, and the students may want to ask you some questions because they've been digging there this year, and they've dug in the past, and to put a face with what went on, it really will be just so enjoyable for them. And I thank you for doing this with us, and thank you for being a big part of Evansville and your children as well.
Well, I'm happy to be a part of the Evansville 10 housing because it was very enjoyable living there.
Thank you, Emily. Bye-bye now. Okay, one other addition. Your little boy named Ted Yaiser Jr., he had a little bicycle. Tell us what he did with that bicycle. He wouldn't really ride it. Tell him what he would do with his little tricycle.
We would put Ted Jr. on the bike, trying to teach him to ride his bike. And he would ride it as long as we were standing there with him. But as soon as we left, he would turn it over and just spin the wheels. That's all he wanted to do with that tricycle. But he enjoyed it and finally learned to ride it correctly.
And there were other kids there that had tricycles too, weren't there?
Yes, they were.
All had rubber tires, because that's what they're finding in some of the archaeology digs, is some of the rubber from the tires of those little tricycles.
I'm sure there are many of them there.
Yeah.
They dig them up. I don't think any of them belong to my child, but anyway, a lot of people rode their bikes up and down the sidewalk, which was in between the housing units.
Yeah. Okay, thanks again, Emily. Okay, Emily, let's tell us about the twin beds that were part of the stocked furniture. Can you tell us how, when you got there, you already had twin beds? Are they bunk beds?
No, they were just straight single beds. And Ted and I had our own bedroom furniture, but we didn't have any for the second bedroom, except a baby bed. And they had the beautiful solid oak twin beds, and a chest, two chests and two beds in that bedroom. And so they were selling all the furniture when we left because they were closing up the apartments. And we had an opportunity to buy the twin beds and the two chests, which we bought. And the boys used those until they were about ready to go to college, I think, because they were so heavy and so sturdy.
And they were regular standard size, so they didn't
Yes,
grow out of them. They're a
that's
regular size
correct,
bed.
Correct.
Did the other 10 houses have these beds too? Were they stocked by University of Evansville?
I don't know. I never was in enough houses to know whether it was their own, and I didn't go into the bedrooms. But I do know that those beds are floating somewhere and will never be destroyed because they were so sturdy and solid oak. And it wasn't the ugly oak; it was a bond oak that they were.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Emily.